And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Hidden Agenda. Getting into short rows for me doing these things. Retirement is coming fast, and relocation's coming fast too. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to call Candy Davis. Candy actually, she attended the meeting. She's the one who provided the video for the meeting the other night. And she took some very detailed notes. So we're going to give Candy a call right quick. Get her on the line. We still got some people jumping on. We're going to give this here just a minute so everybody can pop up in here. And then we'll take and we'll give her a shout out and get her logged up in here and telling us all the stuff that's going on. And then from there, I'm going to get into some one-on-one with you guys on some stuff. So anyway, I'm going to give Candy a call right now, and we'll get her online. Give me just a second to dial her up.
Hello.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we got you live on the Hidden Agenda.
Maybe you won't lose me this time.
I hope not. We should be okay. Hopefully, it's everything seems to be running all right this evening. So hopefully we'll be good. I hope everybody else can hear. Here, Candy, I've got you set up here. Let me make sure that my mic is got some good gain to it. Yeah, we should be good. All righty. All right, Candy, I am going to take and let you talk about the the city meeting from Monday night. Sorry, I'm just trying to get in here and get logged on with the laptop up here, but I'm going to let you hop in here and discuss that there and tell everybody what you took from it, because I noticed it was a very short meeting the other night. I was expecting.
Yeah. It lasted about 35 minutes. Of course, my notes, I can't write as fast as they can talk, and I don't know shorthand, so I did go back and rewatch the meeting to try to make my notes a little bit, I don't know what I'm trying to say, make my notes a little bit longer. The mayor said that they were not going to be able to vote on any rate increases due to them messing up on the Friday. So he's going to have a special.
Hey, I'm losing you. You're cutting in and out on me a little bit there. And let me make sure. I want to repeat that there and make sure that we're on the same page here. So what happened was they didn't vote on the rate increases because there's information, bad information given last Friday. Is that correct? All right, I'm losing you. You're cutting in and out on me here, Candy. Let me try something here. Can you hear me all right? All right, it looks like we've lost Candy here. I'm going to try to call you back. Sorry about that there. We're going to see if we can get hold of Candy again. Yeah, I'm connected in, making sure I'm hooked on the internet here. So we're trying to get back and get Candy back on the line. If nothing else, Candy.
Hey, you've reached my voicemail.
Alrighty, we got Candy's voicemail. So what I'm going to do here is, I've got Candy had actually shared with me her notes from that meeting. I'm going to pop them up, and then I'm hoping that Candy can jump into the comment section here to take and provide some information as well. So let me get her notes up here while we're working on that there. Okay. All right. What she was saying before we started losing signal was the mayor stated that the board would be unable to vote on the rates, which I'm assuming this is going to be the utility rates, based on there was a mess up on something to do with the numbers. It was realized Friday. So what they've done is they've created a special called meeting for May 26th. Now, if I'm correct, May 26th should be a Tuesday, and it is. And May 26th will also be the same day as a regular scheduled meeting. Okay, yeah, Candy just texted she's only got 2 bars of service. Thanks for that, Candy. I'm going to take and go by off her notes on it. So what we come to find out on this here was they've rescheduled this here for May 26th. So May 26th is the day after after Memorial Day, and the regular scheduled meeting would have been that Monday because they have it on the second and fourth Mondays. But since that's the case, it's going to be on a holiday. They decided to postpone the regular scheduled meeting for the fourth Monday to that Tuesday. So there'll actually be a special called meeting and then the regular board meeting on Tuesday, May the 26th. So we're going to find out a lot more about what's going on with the budget at this point. Now, let me say this here. Another note she's gotten here. The expenses that the city have is greater than the projected revenue. Now, this is something that kind of bugged me. Now, I look back in, and I watched a little bit of the video. I didn't watch the whole thing because I just haven't had the time. Life's been very, very hectic. But anyway, what I listened to, and I'm going to go, it coincides with the notes I'm reading right here. Expense is greater than projected revenue. And this gets talking about the step raises. And the step raises is supposed to have an 8% increase. The pay scale has a 33% increase. And that's over. Now, the 33% increase between the 20 to 26 fiscal year, there has been 33% raises within the city. Now, understand that is not a compounded raise. That is a cumulative. So, in other words, when you really get down to it, it's going to be a lot more than 33%. Because what happens is you do, let's say, 5% this year. Well, then you go from $20 an hour to $21 an hour. Well, the next year you do 10%. Well, that 10% is based on the $21 an hour, not the 20. So the percentages go higher. This states that there was $1.6 million for step raises. So that is absolutely insane in my book. What really bugs me here is, why are we even talking about step raises anymore? And I'll tell you the reason being is I sat in a meeting, got a video of proof it. I sat in a meeting and I asked the mayor, Mayor Griggs at the time, specifically, based on the vote, does that mean that we have done away with the salary survey? He looked to Alderman Wildridge, who was Alderman Wildridge at the time, not Mayor Wildridge. And Alderman Wildridge, yes, that's what my motion was. So we have it on a live video, and I even clarified with them before I got down. And that was to say, we no longer have the salary survey. That is correct. Well, guess what? All these step raises, all of that stuff was in the salary survey. So if you've done away with the salary survey, you've done away with the step raises. So how on earth can a board vote to remove something and it's still being applied? And that's one of the things that I really want to talk about tonight. So, bottom line is, apparently they've been given raises that they weren't supposed to give because the board passed it off. So, I don't know how that happened, or why it's happening, or why it's continuing to happen. But there's some serious issues there. And that brings into the legality of the fact that, when the board legally removed it, that means it no longer exists. It can't be used anymore. They haven't voted it back in. And the salary survey at this point in time frame is dead. And yet they're still using it to give step increases and pay raises. So there's some serious issues there that, we're going to dig into, and we'll get some more information for you on that there. Alrighty. Now I want to keep on going on some more with what she's got, because there's been some contention about the fact of what's been going on here. We've seen comments and stuff, so let me pop up in here and just tell you what this here also says. Right now, this is one of the things that the mayor proposed, is this would be effective July 1st, 2026. When an employee retires at the age of 60 years old, and there's not a damn thing that's stopping them from retiring. They can retire regardless of what they're saying. We can't retire anymore. Yes, you can. The only difference is we're not going to be stuck paying you for your benefits. Pay for your own benefits. It shouldn't be on the taxpayers and the ratepayers to cover your benefits because you want to retire at 60. Retire at 60. If you can't afford the insurance, then don't retire. Work like the rest of us stiffs have to do. Bottom line is, when it gets in now, it should not fall on the people, the taxpayers and the ratepayers, to have to cover people because they want to retire early. That's just not right. So what the mayor wanted to do was to change the policy to stop that there, that if you retire at 60, there's no pay and benefits. You can start drawing your retirement. You should not be paid, and you should not get any benefits for 5 years. So I 110% agree with the mayor on that there, and I hope that board votes to change that. All right. By pausing the step raises, which should have been removed anyway, for employees for over 2 years, it's going to save $575,000. Okay. Pause it forever because it shouldn't be in there in the first place. How much is that going to save us? Over the long haul. I'm not talking about the 2 years. I'm talking about over the long haul. Get rid of those step raises because you've already voted it out. Stop putting something that you no longer have. There is no more salary survey. There's no more steps. Pause longevity for the 26-27 budget. Okay, so we're going to pause a longevity bonus for 1 year. Because guess what? Coming into this year, we all knew $600,000 in the hole. $600,000. And I have been told it's a lot more than that. And by the time you add all these raises and stuff in here that these people still want, well, guess what? You're still going to be negative. Now, it's got up here cut bonuses from $500 to $250 for the 26-27 budget year. And say it may increase if the revenue gets better. I'm going to say this here again, and I'm going to upset some people because I'm going to be addressing this here a little bit later on too. Ask anybody in the military who's active duty right now what kind of Christmas bonus they get. If you want to cry about being in dangerous work environments or having to work weekends or having to be away from home, from your family for a night or two, go serve in the military. Step out. Watch what these people go through. They don't get no Christmas bonuses. They're lucky if they get some processed turkey for Thanksgiving or Christmas. So with all of this here, enough's enough. Stop this entitlement thing that you think that you're owed. I hate being threatened about things. If you don't like the way things work here, pack up and leave. Go somewhere else. Don't threaten us with it. Just go ahead and hey, you don't need to announce that you're leaving on the way out. Just go ahead and hit the door. It's okay. We'll get by. Things will happen. It'll be okay. Because somebody somewhere wants a job. That's just the way it works. And this entitlement stuff has got to stop. Alrighty. Policy to change comp pay when employees leave. And cap the time of employee has and currently have $1.6 million in liability on what the city would have to pay employees if they left today. Okay, let me explain to you guys what that is. Again, military. Matter of fact, I was talking to somebody in Congress today, in the congressional world, federal congressional world. They were shocked because they don't have this. It blew their mind. If you take in working for the city, and I ain't figured this out, you build up comp time. Okay. Well, then you get to take it off in the tail end. We've got people right now who we are paying ain't worked in months because they retired. But we're having to pay them. That's because of this comp time that gets built up. What the mayor's suggestion here is change that there. Use your comp time. You know, tell you what, congressional talk today, I think they were able to carry over 5 days max at the end of a fiscal year. So if you haven't burned your comp time, if you haven't taken it either in comp time or payout, then you lose it. Well, guess what? There's a lot of businesses like that there, militaries like that. There's other government jobs that we found out today the same way. All this mess of building up time so you can sit there and say, oh, I'm going to take off and have all this pay coming to me at the tail end. No. And what I don't get is comp time. Okay. Where is comp time here? Because bottom line is, if you work over what you're supposed to work and you get paid overtime, there is no comp time. You shouldn't get paid anymore because you've been paid overtime. Period. There's no comp time. I mean, if you get some, I get it, maybe you get some vacation time, then you know what, use your vacation. If you use it or lose it. If you get sick days, there shouldn't be a whole lot of sick days. Use it or lose it. You can't keep carrying stuff over because what this here does is this here affects how the city operates. So the mayor here wants to change that there and put a cap on it. And understand that right now is if everyone who retired had comp time, we would have to. Well, I mean, hold on a second now. No. Yeah. Currently have $1.6 million in liabilities. So in other words, if everyone quit today with their comp time, and who the heck's keeping up with the comp time? I really would like to know that. I would like to see the timesheets where it's kept up with. I really want to see that. I mean, and that's got to be public record. So maybe this is something that we need to make a request of. But it's saying up here, change comp pay when employee leaves. Cap it. Cap the amount of time an employee can get. There's $1.6 million on the books right now. So if all the employees that have comp time built up right this moment left, we would have to pay $1.6 million. That is an indebtedness, however you want to look at it. This stuff here needs to be corrected. This is just above and beyond where too much has been given. Way too much. It goes back to Tim Rhodes' comment. Family and Friends. This is the Family and Friends program. And this has got to come to a stop. Now let's move on because that's the next thing. I'm going to bring up Tim Rhodes again. Tim Rhodes talked about the fuel expenses. And he talked about all the take-home vehicles. And this is something that definitely has been was talked about last year during the campaign. It was one of the hot topics that everybody complained about to the when the conversation was. I'm sorry, I got a text in here. Bottom line, Tim brought up about fuel expenses. Donna brought up about the vehicle take-home play, the take-home vehicles. This was a problem This was one of the top 3 problems that people had with the city in wasteful spending, was the take-home vehicles, and it ain't been addressed. The can has been kicked down the road so many times it's not even funny. And you know what? It's like the patients are running the asylum, and that's exactly what it is. Or the children are running the classroom. This board needs to get up in here and start taking some action. And you got voted in because you said you were going to do certain things. So the people did their good faith, and they showed that they wanted to change based on what the votes were at the polls. It's your turn now to fix the problems that you said you were going to fix. As a matter of fact, as everybody knows, Tim Rhodes is my friend, and we were talking today. Tim just put $81 in his vehicle, in his truck. Now, Tim been going back and forth to the hospital. You think, well, $81 fill up his truck in a week. I mean, Tim does quite a bit of driving back and forth. Marianne, unfortunately, has been in the hospital, so he's been back and forth, having to still take care of the house and still doing all these other things. So he spent $81 to fill up his truck today. I get it. I mean, gas price is expensive. Heck, we came back, I think it was last week, from Nashville for a doctor's appointment. And I stopped in Dick's, and it was $4.19 there. I popped $50 in, and it got me a little over half tank. That was enough just to get, I figured I'd get back home because it was still, I got it for $3.82, I think Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday, over at Walmart. So yeah, I get it. I mean, it's expensive. Gas prices are up. And having a bunch of people ride around in the truck, or having 5 people driving 5 trucks to a job site, is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. And you know what? Taking these vehicles home, I'm so sick and tired of, we need them for emergency, You don't tell you what, I get it. If you got somebody that's on call, yes, on-call person gets it. Okay? That's it. Don't nobody else need one. The on-call person, that's it. That's all. Nobody else needs one. Don't need to take it home. Especially if you don't live in the city limits. Don't take it home. Simple as that. So, and from what I understand, I think I'm going to go back to conversation I had. And I don't remember who I had this here with. Was saying that that there was a $15,000 increase in Lexington Utilities fuel costs from this year to last year. That's stuff adds up pretty quick. All right, let me see here. Okay. I think this here is in reference to the fuel saved. In 3 years, it will pay off one debt, saving $400K to go into a revenue stream. 5 years, it pays off a school debt, add another $442 to the cash stream. Okay, so yeah, that's something that's in there. Yeah, I mean, apparently, doing this here can save money. And you know what? People complain about wanting raises. Well, if you figure out a way to say, hey, you know what? I don't need to drive that vehicle home every time. Then guess what? There might be more money to actually get you a raise at some point in time. Right now ain't time. I mean, they've spent so much money over the uncontrolled spending because they've had 4 votes. So hopefully this thing here gets changed. All right, let's move on to what else was in here. West Tennessee Fence Company, $12,480, and apparently this is grant funded to fence in the new communication tower. I'm assuming that's the tower that's set up there by the new water tower across from Co-op. So apparently that's paying for by grant. All right, Lex Operation. This is a utilities report. Lex Operation gave to all write-offs was $9,616. So they wrote off $9,600 plus. LES did CPR training the second week of April, dealing with public safety training, outage, no significant outages. LexNet takes rate is at 32%. Brad Moore, whoever that is, has replaced Brent Burnine as the new, well, I'm assuming he's the new head of LexNet because Brent Burnine was the head. What was his official title? Let me see if I can find that out here. Alrighty here. Give me just 1 second. I'm looking here. I got it somewhere. I thought it was in this here. Because they're all meshed together. Boom, boom, boom. Well, I don't see it in here, but anyway, I'm assuming that's what that is there. So, apparently Brad Moore worked for TDS. And that is it for Candy's notes. So, we're going to take and get back up in here into Bradis from Parsons is what Candy just said. Okay, let's pop up in here and get back to the video itself. Alrighty. Okay, I've got some comments, so I'm going to pop in here. Alright. Okay. Okay. In regards to the money with those debts coming off, saving the city $500,000 and then saving the city another $440. Apparently, these here are debts that are coming off in the future, so they are not there at the moment, but there will be debts that will be coming off, and that will improve some revenue into the city. So I guess they're waiting on that revenue to help get down the what's going on there. Now, I want to get back up in here, and I'm going to come back in here too, because this has been something that got, and I mean, I even had a message this morning about it, and finally replied. I've just had a real rough time, but one of the linemen commented, and then some people jumped in here, so we're going to get up in here, and we're going to address this here. And I'm going to read a little bit of this here, but lineman said, "It's sad and honestly pathetic to see how our city is choosing to treat the employees who keep the lights on and the community running every single day. As linemen and city workers, we already make less than surrounding municipalities. Even with lower pay, we've continued showing up during storms, outages, emergencies, nights, weekends, holidays, and dangerous conditions because we take pride in serving this town and the people in it. Now the city board wants to raise the retirement age from 60 to 65. So I want to address that. They're not raising the retirement age from 60 to 65. You retire at 60. Hell, you can retire right now if you want to. There's nothing that stops you from retiring. It's just how much do we have to pay when you retire. It should not fall on the taxpayers or the ratepayers to cover your retirement. Not when everybody else has got to work longer years than what you have to. So, yeah, I got an issue with that. All right, take away annual leave and sick leave payouts at retirement or cap it. Well, you know what? That's it. That is how it works in most every other job that's out there, even in other government jobs. If you do not take your time, then guess what? You lose it. And you should not have this big chunk of change coming to you or paychecks continue to come to you when you retire. No, that's not fair to the city because they got to carry that load before they can hire somebody to replace you. So no, that isn't right, whether you like it or not. And if you truly take pride in serving the town and the people, you wouldn't want to take and burden them this way. All right. Eliminate bonuses. Okay, now I've been told two different things. I've been told that LES does not get bonuses. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. I have no clue. It is, it's one of those things that I just don't know. if that's the case, then I mean, and if you actually go back and hear it and listen to it, there was no talk of eliminating bonuses. There was talk of reducing bonuses from 500 to 250. So that there was somebody telling you bad information that wasn't true. All right. Freeze cost of living raises for at least the next 2 years. You know what? How many other people have we talked about, and we've been through this here, through every single year for the last 3 or 4 years with people, and not everybody gets a cost of living raise. And you know what? When you're looking at COLA raises, the COLA raises were designed to be given to Social Security recipients. But, not every single job pays a COLA increase. It's just the way it is. And when you're making so much damn money, you don't need to worry about that so much. To me, because you're making plenty enough. At this point, it gets of greed. And what do you do when somebody over here doesn't get anything, but you want them to pay even more so you can benefit yourself? Somebody's got to tote the bill. There's no magic tree where they can go pull money off of and say, here's more money for you because you want more money. No, that's just not how it works. Inflation keeps rising. Yes, it keeps rising for everybody. Not everybody gets a pay raise every year. Insurance keeps rising. Guess what? Everybody's paying it. Not just the freaking city employees. Everybody is. The workload never gets easier. That's the nature of work. It is. If you chose a job where it's got a heavy workload, well, guess what happens? You got a heavy workload. This is some common sense stuff here. If you don't like the job, then maybe transition down to work as a cashier. So you don't have to go out in the storms or any of that other stuff. And, that's just it. But I'm going to go on here. The reality is simple. Qualified employees are not going to stay where they are undervalued and continuously stripped of benefits. Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to tell you right now. Here's the way I look at it. And let me go on a little bit further here. Experienced linemen and skilled workers can leave and go to surrounding utilities or private companies that pay better, offer better retirement, and actually appreciate their employees. This is not about not appreciating employees. The appreciation's been going on, as was stated in that meeting, 33% in increases. Now, that may not be for LES, and that may be for everybody else in there, but LES got some substantial increases. I mean, some substantial increases. And I guess what? I don't know if you guys can see this here or not, but I have the 26, 27 salaries for every single employee in the city. And we're going to be talking about that in just a minute here, because I want to share something about this here. Alrighty, when that happens, the city will face serious staffing shortages and eventually be forced to rely on outside contractors to do the same work at a much higher cost to taxpayers, instead of investing in local and loyal employees who already know the system and community. The city will end up paying premium contractor rates because they push trained workforce out the door. Nobody's pushing trained workforce out the door. What's happening is they're making serious decisions based on the fact of where the city is. You cannot continue to keep operating in the red. Can't keep going into debt to make payments, to pay salaries, to give raises. We're talking about freezing some raises here. And everybody's blowing a gasket because guess what? You're not getting a raise. Go out in the real world. You'll tell you what, pay attention to what's happening. They're seeing the same thing over there in Jackson. Yeah, they had a meeting today, and they're trying to figure out a way. You know what they're going to do? Talk about raising taxes. See what happens you try to raise taxes around here. See what happened a couple of years ago. And people around here are just about sick and tired of you tapping into their money so you can make yourself better off. It's putting people in a bind. There used to be a saying about people living paycheck to paycheck. I had somebody come in to my shop on Wednesday, and they made the best example I've ever had. People are now living pennies to pennies. When they're having to give up, when an elderly person is having to give up a medicine or giving up a food because they can't afford it because their utility rates keep going up because people want to get more pay. They don't care about it. You're not serving anybody. You're serving yourself. You're not serving the citizens because you're not cared about those citizens. All you care about is how much you're getting. And you know what? I hate that there. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this here. If anybody wants to quit, leave, go. Don't let the door hit you in the butt, because that's one thing we ain't got to clean up. There will be somebody who'll take that job. I guarantee you 1 million people will line up for half these jobs that the city has because of all everything they get paid. You know, this really kind of bugs me here. It almost is like we're threatened that, well, if it doesn't happen, you know, we're going to all leave. Go. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to really get into this with you in just a few minutes, because this conversation has been drug on for a little while, and I'm going to take and bring out and share with you some information that this thing here will blow your mind. And so, you know, again, it would be nice if every year the city was in a position where they could give a pay raise. If they were in that position and it wasn't burdening the customers. And you got to remember one thing here, people. That board was elected by 8,000, not 200. Their goal, their priority should be first and foremost to take care of the people that elected them. 200 does not win the vote. And if you show me in a single election this past year that was voted on by 200 people, that somebody's sitting in a board seat right now or sitting as the mayor because of 200 votes in city employees, I kiss your butt. Show it to me. Bottom line is, you can't keep sitting up here and expecting everybody else to carry the load for you because you want to take and get more. More. All right, I'm going to pop up in here and look at some of these comments here, because I got quite a few comments in here. And boom. All righty. Okay. Alrighty, let me go back in here and catch up with some of these comments first of all. Tim, I appreciate that there. The special called meeting on May 26th is going to be at 5:30. I'm assuming the regular will be at, whatchamacallit. Alright, Candy. The raises, the step raises, and the COLA caused a $1.6 million increase. Alright, and Donald went back in here and clarified that the $1.6 million is for employees if they retire due to accumulated personal leave. Candy went back and clarified from the 2020 to the 2026 fiscal years, a 6-year time frame, there has been 33% in raises. Alrighty. Boom. Right. Why does a public works employee who lives 5 minutes from the facility need to drive a truck home every night? That's a great question. That's a very good question. Candy works in the medical field, nurse. I'm not sure exactly what she does as far as being a nurse, but I know Candy is a nurse. She went 3 years without any kind of raise. And her health insurance kept increasing. She didn't get 100% of her health insurance paid for. She didn't get 60% of her family's insurance paid for. You know, there are so many benefits to these employees, and they complain. Now, that's not to say every employee, because I'm going to tell you right now, we got some very good employees. But we got some crybabies. And I don't mind calling them out for the facts of what it is. Now, I want to come up in here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what I went back in here and did some research on. And because this is something that I had conversations with aldermen about. And there were some things that was being told to an alderman stating that, talking about how the pay discrepancy, and this is an issue that I'm going to go ahead and put on out there. And this is something I've always heard, and I kind of find it to be true. And what that is let me take and make sure I got no other comments up here that I need to answer. Okay. All right. Get back in here. I'm sorry. I'll get right back to this here. All right. So, All right, Patrick Stout, I'm not sure who you are. To say that employees don't care about the citizens is a pretty wild statement. I didn't say that employees didn't care about the citizens. I said they care more about themselves. You know, when you worked on the police department up north, I cared more about the citizen. I would have quit a long time ago. I'm sure the first responders here care about the locals, or they wouldn't still be working here. Just my 2 cents. You know, again, they don't care if it costs the taxpayers or the ratepayers, which are the citizens. If they have to give up their money to make sure that they get a bonus or pay or whatever, they don't care what happens to the citizens. That's in the language. That's exactly what they're saying. So go back in, read it, and see for yourself. You don't need to listen to me. You don't need to trust me. It's sitting right there in writing. But here's what I want to get into and I want to talk about. Because this was one of the things that I kept hearing about was how LES was, and I've heard this, LES, that all these raises and stuff that's been given, they've been given because Lexington Utilities want to get paid the same as LES. You know what, people? No. No, 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 no. That's just not going to happen. You get paid based on what your skill set is, based on what your education is, based on what your experience is. You know what? The problem here, though, and this is true, is people get paid because of family and friends. That's it. These people, for the longest time, have taken advantage of your money to benefit themselves. And everybody kind of sits back, oh, well, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't affect me. It does affect you. Every time you got to pay a higher rate, that affects you. Every time you got to pay more taxes, that affects you. You know, what they don't do is they spread it out among us so they think, oh, well, you guys aren't paying attention. We'll just slip on by this here and we just keep on getting it. Y'all won't know. But when you start finding out about stuff and you start realizing how it affects you, you get upset. Well, you need to stay upset because this stuff is constantly affecting you every single budget year. But here's what I want to get into. What I was told was, I was told that, well, some people at Lexington Utilities was getting paid more than what linemen were getting paid. And I'm like, okay. So I came in here and I went back and looked. It's the 25-26 pay schedule. There's been no raises since this here was printed. I went back in and calculated it out. Because in the LES scale, it gives the salary. It does not give the hourly pay, it gives the salary. Everything else you look at has an hourly pay. So, I confirmed this here with everybody in business, aldermen, and quite a few people. There's 52 weeks in a year. There's 40 hours of work in a week. You multiply that times 52. 52 weeks at 40 hours a week comes to 2,080 hours. So I divided the salary for a lineman, and I got an hourly pay. And let me tell you right now, there's only 5 people. We could say 6, and I'll go ahead and say the 6th. There's only 6 people in Lexington Utilities or any of the general fund employees, any of the other enterprise, any other department. There's only 6 people that actually make more than a lineman. Number 1 is your fire chief / police chief, holding 2 titles. They make more than a lineman. The assistant police chief makes more than a lineman. The assistant general manager and the general manager of the utilities company makes more than a lineman. The chief financial officer, or as everybody knows, the city recorder, makes more than a lineman. And the public works director. Not a single other person makes, they're not making what a lineman makes. They're not. They're not paid that way. And if you come in here and look at it, I'm going to tell you right now, I found, I'll say this here. A lineman makes, I think it was $41.61 an hour. The mayor don't even make $41 an hour. He makes $40.87. So nobody on that page makes 40. The next one that's close would be the assistant public works director making $40.50. Nobody on that page. And one engineer in the gas system makes $41.19. Nobody else. Hold on a second here. Okay. Nobody else is even making 35 an hour except for two people. And that one's gone. That job is gone. That person's gone. We're still paying for it. Which was the major in the police department. The building inspector, who actually has pretty much his own department. And a captain in the police force. So nobody's within $5 an hour. $5 an hour, $200 a week. 200 times 52, that's over $10,000 a year. There's nobody within $10,000 of a lineman. It's in the numbers, people. So all this mess about, oh, they're getting paid more than us. Now if you go back in, I think that I have found 17 people in LES in LexNet. And most of it was LES. I think the only one in LexNet was the only person in LexNet that made more than a lineman was actually the broadband director is the title. So, of the linemen, the only people there's 16 people in LES, 17 if you include the broadband director, that make more than a lineman. Okay. So there's a lot more people inside of LES that makes more than a lineman. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it may sound like I'm picking on LES, and that's not what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to call some things out here. When you get threatened about, well, we're going to leave and it's going to screw the city up and stuff, you know what? Again, my thing is hit the bricks. You know, just hit the bricks, go. You know, we don't need to be threatened to act like, it's something we have to have. Because, that there just ain't sitting on nothing. That does not tell me that you care about the people in this community. That's just it. And I had a conversation with one of them who had messaged me today, and I'll even say I'll repeat what I told him on this here. My son, who is a Henderson County resident, even though he hasn't been here in 8 years, he's still a Henderson County resident because this is his home of record in the military. He has been in combat zones. He has been on a boat in the middle of storms. He's been underway for 9 months at a time where he didn't get to come home for 9 months. I'm not talking about overnight. I'm not talking about a few days or a week or 2 weeks. I'm talking months, almost a year. You know what? Don't get no bonuses. Don't get no longevity pay. He doesn't use his leave. He loses his leave. 24 hours a day. Right now, his boat is coming out of service. They're getting ready to bring it back online. The USS Carl Vinson, in case anybody wants to go look it up, San Diego. He has been, I think every fourth day, he's sending a 24-hour watch. 24 hours. So, that's his job. He doesn't get anything additional for it. He doesn't get paid as good as a lineman. But he doesn't complain about his job. He just does his job. He's serving his country. And that to him is all he needs. Because that's what it's about. It is about service of others. And, that's just what it boils down to. So, I'm tired of the crying and the whining about wanting to get paid more money. If you want to get paid more money, then guess what? Go get your engineering degree. Jump in there. That's what it gets down to. You can better yourself, but it's not on everybody else to do that for you. And yes, you know what? If there's and this is my thing is, why hasn't anybody left? If it's all about money, and they want to go get more money, and they're always talking about more money. Why don't they just leave and go get it instead of complaining about it? It's one of those things here. I'm leaving. I'm going to announce, I'm taking my ball. I'm going home, and I'm letting y'all know about it. Well, you just take the ball, go. We'll find another ball to play with. That's really what it boils down to. All right, I got a couple more comments. Jack Johnson: employees who make more than a lineman or salary do not get paid overtime. Okay. Well, and that's, again, I think I can see what you're saying there, Jack, and that's true. There's a difference between salaried or exempt and non-exempt employees. Some of them are working on a salary. Some of them are working on getting paid overtime for extra hours if they go above and beyond the hours. So yeah, I mean, it may get to the point where there's a lot more than what we ever even know. Next thing, Kim Corlew: are the mayor and aldermen provided the same benefits as other city employees? I don't have an answer to that there. As far as the insurances, I did talk to one alderman today about that there, and they were offered it and refused it. So they're not taking any additional benefits. Aldermen are paid. I know they get an $800 a month salary. The mayor gets $85,000 a year. That was set when Jeff Griggs came into office. I think it was a lot lower than that before he came into office, but that's what he was making when he worked at BRWDA, and that's what they wanted to make sure he made when he became the mayor. So they voted it in. Here we go. Donna Ross: health benefits are available. I do not take the health insurance as I pay for mine through my employer. I do not feel it right to taxpayer to pay for it. So, well, there you go. So, are they available to it? Yes, I'm assuming they probably are. And what the heck's wrong with it? If you're giving it to everybody else, and now you're saying, well, the elected officials shouldn't have it, and that was something else too. On the pathetic comments a while ago about the board being pathetic, and that the board should give up their money. Okay, so we don't appreciate the board because they're not voting the way we want them to vote, so we should take away from them to give to somebody else. Do you not understand the recurring theme here is take from somebody to give to me because I want to be happy, and that's the only way I'm going to be happy is if you take from somebody else and give it to me. That's what it boils down to. Donna popped in here. I will say this: the money paid is maybe $2 an hour based on what is required to research the info. Now, I'm going to say this here. Donna Ross is my friend. Sorry, Donna. Hope I ain't throwing you on the bus saying that there, but Donna is my friend, and she's been a long-term customer of ours. I'll say this here. Donna Ross, that woman works her butt off for this city. She works her butt off. And you know what? Donna is very fair. Maybe people don't think so because she doesn't bow down to what everybody wants. And trust me, she don't bow down to what I want. She is one who spends the time. She does research. She'll call and ask me. She doesn't call and ask me my opinion on things. Now, I'll give it to her because that's who I am. But she'll call and ask me for research, and I point her in the right direction. And to me, that is Donna. I'm sorry, but we got some hard heads around here. It's like, oh, can't be associated with James Lavelle anyway. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this here. I probably got more knowledge than most of these people saying it. So bottom line is, it's a resource, and she uses that resource. And that is somebody who's smart and understanding that, hey, you know what? I can get little bits and pieces of information where I need it to get me a total picture. And I think that's a great, great thing that she does on her part. So, kudos to you, Donna, for doing that there. And I know, and let me tell you right now, and again, Donna, in this conversation here, me and her have bumped heads. And reference to all this stuff here because, one of the things, Donna does, she is the alderman who oversees LES. And she's, that's her job. And she's doing what most other aldermen do who are overseeing other departments. They're trying to advocate for their department. I get it. I mean, that's part of the job. That's part of what you're there for. But I will say this here, Donna is one that she balances out what is good for the good of the people and what's good for the people, for the employees. She's trying to find that happy medium. So kudos to you for that there on Donna. I think you do an outstanding job with that. Yeah, well, you're right. We bump heads often, but and Donna and I'm gonna tell you right, I love her to death. I love Brent to death. I love Chloe to death. They're good people, and they're just trying to do. She's trying to do what's right, and so you know what. And when we bump heads, we're not mad at each other. We don't. There's no grudges. There's no upset. It's just us talking. We each having our opinion, and I'm gonna tell you, there's times where she sways me. There's times where I sway her, just because of the sharing of information that we may not know about. So, all right, I want to get back in here again to some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight. We've got that there. We've got the meeting cat done. The city. Okay. There was one thing. In that meeting on Monday night that I heard the mayor say, and this is something that's going to bug me, is I heard the word tax increase, property tax increase. That ain't going to float over well at all. So we're going to have to see how that goes there. But people, I'm just giving you fair warning right now. Get warmed up, because there may be a property tax increase coming in the city. And I'm sure that the mayor and the county will be upset if that happens, because he got upset last time that they tried to pass a massive tax. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely pay attention to that there. Okay, something I want to back up to, because I've got quite a few things that I really wanted to get out tonight, but I don't want to talk up here all night. The Scottsdale High School student was not allowed to walk during graduation. Okay, here's what I want to tell you what I found out in all this here. And yeah, I hate it for this young lady. She lost an opportunity. An opportunity was stolen from her. And it was stolen from her for people trying to protect, I'm just going to go ahead and say, lies. I was talking with multiple people in the school system on this here. And I am hoping that our county commissioner is paying close attention to this here, because effective July 1, Representative Hensley over in Hohenwald, thank you, Representative Hensley, pushed through legislation where it allows our local legislative body to accept where we can vote for our superintendent. Now, our school superintendent is appointed right now by the school board. Well, the problem there is you got to remember now, that's kind of a separate government. But you only have one body in that government, and that is the legislative branch. Yeah, you can still go back and invoke the judicial side, but you don't have any executive side. And that's because the superintendent is positioned in that place by the school board. So they have to work under the pressure of the school board and whatever the school board wants. And we know how this stuff works because we've seen it. So, what Representative Hensley did was he got it passed, so starting July 1st, a county commission can come in here and vote to elect their school superintendent. Now, a school superintendent's going to have to meet some requirements, the same as a sheriff does and the same as a highway superintendent does. So what will happen is they'll give it to the point where the voters can say, hey, we want to vote in a school superintendent instead of one being appointed. I think that's a wonderful thing, because now you have the people truly have a voice at this point. So, this here is at this point it's up to whatever happens with the county commission, whether they vote to accept this or not. But here's the deal. This is the first time that I've dealt with stuff on the school board where I didn't have them circle the wagons and was shooting at me from the inside trying to keep me out. This is the first time I've actually got people on the inside, hey, I got something to tell you, and then I got people on the school board, I got something over here. Hold on a second here. You two are bumping heads. I like this. I really did. So, here's what got me on this here. I was told that this student signed a contract. An independent contract stating that they had to attend at least one of the practices for graduation. Okay, let's get into the truth of the matter. There was no independent contract signed. The Scotts Hill Handbook, for Scotts Hill High School Handbook, does talk about um, attending um, the practices to be able to participate. No exceptions in there, except for somebody who is going to go to summer school to finish up. Then they could walk, and they could get their degree during summer school, but they could still walk. That's the only exception listed in there. Now, here's what I found was a little bit different. So I went back, I was like, let me go back in here and check to see what it says at LHS. Well, hold on a second. Now, LHS says you have to attend all. Well, once this was discovered, what we found out was, guess what? LHS does have a separate contract that the students sign. Scottsdale High School does not. So the district doesn't have consistency on these contracts. Now, one of my questions was, this student, and I was trying all the way up to around about 6:30 that night, trying to get that student to be able to go. I really would love to have seen her walk the stage, but it didn't happen. Not only did she not get to go, did she not get to walk the stage, but she didn't even get to go to the graduation ceremony. Now let's go back in here and understand how this whole thing happened, and then we're going to get in here and explain everything to you, what happened, what evolved, and where it's at right now. August, school starts. Student gets a handbook. Student and mother or parent has to sign the handbook. Gets turned back into the school. The handbook does say that you have to attend graduation practices. Does not say when the graduation practices are. It just says that you have to attend. Move up to October. Unfortunately, the student's father passed away, and it was very traumatic. We all handle grief in different ways, and that's perfectly fine. So, November, the mother decides to schedule a vacation, and it's part of the healing process, to help to grieve and get past the loss of a parent. That's all of us. I mean, I'm not saying all of us, but most of us, you see people post, on Mother's Day about they missed their mom, on Father's Day, and how great that person was to them and impactful in their life. So yes, it's understandable for somebody to be grieving on this year. So October, they lost the father. November, they decided to plan a vacation. Well, everybody knows in Tennessee, and heck, if you went back in and looked at Florida, I think during that time frame they were getting some cold weather. So they planned a vacation right before graduation. You know what? Pretty smart idea, because guess what? You get in there before graduation week starts, prices are a lot cheaper. So get down there, book a vacation in November. December comes around, the student is done. They graduate. They've completed all the requirements, so they graduate high school. The only thing left for them at this point is to walk down the aisle in the ceremony with their fellow classmates. All right, about 7-8 weeks ago, it gets put out about the graduation dates. Well, the student and the mom found out about this here, called into the school, talked to a couple of people. They're like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. All you got to do is just talk to Mr. Norton, the principal, and get permission. But yeah, it should be perfectly fine. We don't have a problem with it. Well, they get hold of the principal. So at this point, this is the first that they know of the dates, because there's no dates listed anywhere. This is well after they've booked a vacation, which was non-refundable, which I get it. You get a non-refundable vacation, you get a lot cheaper than you do one that you get on the hook for the refund. So they go in here, book a vacation. They find out when the dates happen. It's like, whoa, we've got our vacation planned on this time. Nobody knows, because nobody knows the dates. So they go and they talk and they find out. When they end up having a conversation with Principal Norton, and comment this principal made was, everybody's got a sad story. Show up for practice. Well, guess what? They didn't show up for practice. They didn't get to graduate. They didn't get to march with their classmates. They got their diploma the next day. Here's where the issue comes in. I'm making phone calls. I'm reaching out, trying to find out everything that's going on with this conversation. I get all the timeline of what's going on. And when I'm talking to a school board member who's actually on the way to graduation, and I'm like, dude, there's no contract signed. Because the argument was, well, there was an independent contract signed. I said there was no contract signed. The only thing that was signed was the handbook. Well, they make the phone call and then call back and like, well, that's true, but they still made the decision. I said, so if somebody gets sick, they can get an exception. Well, that's different. That's beyond their control. Well, hold on a second here, because there's no exceptions listed in the handbook. Either you make it or you don't graduate. So you're going to flex the rules for some people, but not for the other people. Now, I'm going to say this here. We're talking about an illness. Somebody, gets a flu bug, can't make it. What if somebody has some emotional distress and can't make it? Is that not medical? I mean, if we're thinking about, some mental health issues can be considered, a medical situation. What's the difference here? But none of that happened. Then when I finally brought up the fact that, well, the student's not even going to be allowed to go. Well, that's not what I was told. I said, well, check into it. Never got a phone call back. Last I heard from that person. And guess what? Student didn't get to graduate with the class. Didn't get to walk down the aisle. Had to pick up the diploma the next day. Did not even get to attend the graduation ceremony. And this is a problem. This is a serious problem. Because if you go back and look, we kept hearing that if they would have just attended one. Well, that's not what it says in the rules. Suppose they would have attended one, and they say, well, you didn't attend both. You can't make the rules up as you go along. You can't sit there and say, well, you got to be here. Here's a contract. Sign the contract. We'll put the dates in later. We don't need the dates right now. That's kind of like if I'm sitting here and and I'm playing bingo, and I got bingo across my card, and they're like, oh, well, no, you got to have two bingos. Well, that's not what you said at the beginning of the game. You just moved the goalpost on me. That's exactly what's happened here. And they tried to correct this when they found out about it. It's not like they tried to hide it or try to get down to the last minute. They called immediately and made an effort to try to get it corrected. To no avail. And that's just not right. That's just not right. This is not... And on top of that there, the Saturday before this all happened, we were in Jackson. Our daughter graduated, got her associate's degree from Jackson State. They had somewhere around about 600 students graduate from Jackson, and they did it in 3 sections of 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And I'll say this here. There was no practice. They didn't need a practice. Why do we need kids practicing for graduation? Why do they have to have a contract? I mean, this here is about control more so than anything else. Because it's not hard to do graduation. I mean, you just guide the kids, tell them what to do. We're throwing them out there in the world that we're either going to put them in the workforce or we're going to take and send them off to college. And we can't trust them to walk down an aisle. Kids that are 18 years old are voting, joining the military. Hey, you're good holding a gun, but we can't trust you to walk down that aisle. What on earth message are we sending to these kids? So bottom line is, school system, you guys suck. You stole a young lady's a memory that she should have had. And you did it under a poor cloud of judgment, trying to hide about it, trying to state something that wasn't true, and it's just absolutely wrong. Shame, shame, shame on you. And that goes to everyone who allowed it to happen. Period. All right. I'm done with that there. I'll get off my horse. We'll go to the next conversation here. Let's see here. We've got that. We'll knock that out. Okay. The fire at the phone company. Apparently this is a lot worse than we thought it was. Well, let me rephrase that there. This is a lot worse than we've ever been told it was. I shouldn't say that we thought it was, because we don't ever know what to think, because we don't ever get any information. You know, I made a comment today, and this is going to be my new slogan. Transparency is a campaign lie. Exactly what it is. It's a lie. Because there is no transparency. We don't get any transparency. It's just a lie. We don't see it. It don't happen. So anyway, apparently this stuff here is pretty bad. What's happening down there. And again, we probably won't ever find out, but what I'm finding out now is there were 2 other fire calls out there at that plant beforehand. In addition, the city passed a temporary certificate of occupancy when they didn't have sprinklers in parts of that building. So, yeah, I've watched where they've withheld certificate of occupancies over somebody paving a parking lot, but yet they'll take and give a certificate of occupancy for a manufacturing facility that don't have sprinklers. What on earth is going on in this city? I mean, this is crazy. And this thing here was bad. I mean, really bad. A lot of water got pumped down up in there. All that stuff there, where is that water going to? It's got to be absorbed somewhere. It's got to go somewhere. You know, it ain't going down in one little small thing. It ain't like they got a cup sitting up under there catching that water and then taking and just contaminate it with all this chemicals and stuff. It's crazy. But I'm just touching base right now because I am building up a lot more information on that one there, and I will be blasting it out here shortly. Because there are some issues going on in the fire department that we're going to eventually get around to. I'm just getting all my ammunition together. So I just want to touch base with you guys on that there. The last thing I kind of want to hit up on is the $1 million, or however much it is. We don't have the slightest clue because we don't. Guess what? Again, remember we were talking about transparency and the lack thereof. Okay. After Cody Wood was terminated as the city recorder, come to find out that there was $1 million that was discovered at Community Bank. Now here's where the problem comes in. $1 million. Now I have heard 6 different stories on this thing here. And I have no clue what the true story is. But there's $1 million that was found in the bank. We do know that that is confirmation. There is confirmation to that happening. $1 million. Now, if there's any money the government has, guess whose money it is? It's yours. It's taxpayers. It belongs to us. What I've been told is 2 different things here. Number one is there is $1 million sitting in that bank that comes from fines, court fees, all this stuff here that's been collected and sitting in this account. All right. Got another story the other day, earlier this week, stating, well, no, that's money for whatchamacallit, that's money to do with, the opioid settlement. Okay, and I didn't know we were getting money off that already, and we may have. I'm not sure. I'm still doing research on this here, but anyway, my big thing is, can anybody tell me where this money's accounted for in the city? Where is this $1 million at? Because I remember going back to $16.5 million that was not accounted for properly in an audit a few years ago. Now, all of a sudden now, we got $1 million and nobody can tell me where it goes, what it belongs to. I'm getting varying stories about where the money, what's it for? How did it get there? Who's in control of the money? I was even told a city employee was put on the account, and once they found out their name was on the account, like, remove me off that, I ain't got nothing to do with it. So, what on earth are we dealing with $1 million? $1 million, that's a lot of money, people. A lot of money. Guess what? We started this year $600,000 in the hole. So if there's $1 million sitting in an account that's not accounted for, that's not in our reserves, that's not in any place else, it's just sitting there, and we don't know anything for it, and nobody's doing anything with it, apparently. I mean, is the money even, from what I'm gathering, it's not earning us any interest or if it is, it's so small that it's hardly any. It's not really accounting for anything. So why are we putting this here in an account that's going to draw us a crap load of interest off of it? Why aren't we using it to pay off debt? Why are we even questioning any of this here? Pull the money back in. But here's what I want. I want somebody to provide some transparency from the city and say, and I want to see it. Don't tell me, do not tell me with your words, this is what it's for. Show it to me. Show me transactions. Prove to me that this money is legit. It is in there. It hasn't been hidden from the people. It hasn't been hidden from the system. Show it to me, and show it to me where I know that that money is accountable, so I can come back and tell you guys that, hey, this is where that money came from. And I can show you some paperwork and say, yeah, here we go. We figured it out. Somebody finally stepped up and gave us some transparency. Or, once again, you know, the biggest campaign lie there is transparency, because we damn sure ain't seen it. We still ain't seen it. Now, I'm going to go back in and say something else about transparency. And before I get off my high horse, get up out of here. Kept hearing about, again, we talked about the take-home vehicles. At the beginning of the year, there was an inventory sheet that was printed with all the inventory from each department. And you couldn't read it. They put it so damn small. And I'm blind. Yeah, I'm blind. I wear glasses. I had magnifying glass. I still couldn't read it because it was just unlegible because the font was shrunk down so damn small. And that's just the most ignorant thing. And this was at the time who presented this information to us was the chief financial officer, the city recorder, who is gone. Which, I mean, you may say that this is like petty, but I don't think he was terminated for pettiness. I think he was terminated for failing to do his job. And I mean, if he's not accounting for $1 million, that's a problem with him doing his job. The $16.5 million that he didn't account for, the half the budget that the auditors have to come in here and change, all of that there, that's not pettiness. The minutes not being correct, the minutes being false. And I'm going to tell you right now, because those minutes were false, going back into this whole thing with the salary survey being eliminated, now aldermen are coming back in here and working on this stuff here and trying to get this money back in. I lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry. I'm going to skip over that there because I had a question come up here that kind of just threw me off a little bit here. But bottom line is, we've had terrible management. We've had things happen. We've had money just... We had budgets presented on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I'm sorry, but you can't take an enterprise account that's drawing revenue and point it on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. There's just no depth to it. So, bottom line is, this money, first and foremost, needs to be accounted for. And, you know, that's just it. All right, well, I'm getting some message from an employee from LES saying that I am putting out misinformation. I'm not putting out any misinformation. All right, let's go ahead and get on in here. So here's what I want to get into. Okay, again, I'm replying to a text that's come across. Show me. I don't want you to tell me that Carroll County is paying better. Yes, I'm on Carroll County Electric. Show me Carroll County is paying better. Show me their benefits and their pay. Don't tell me they're doing it. Show it to me. Lip service don't mean nothing to me because I've been hearing lip service all day long, and what I've been finding out with this lip service is it's wrong. You know, and I was saying we're at the bottom here. And I'm going to say this here. I've actually got emails back in from stating otherwise coming out of LES. Nobody said anything about the taxes are carrying the load of all the city debt. Say this here is where people are coming in here and making things up. let me go ahead and get into this here. I want to give you something here because one thing that bothered me was this whole thing about, yeah, we go out in storms and we go out and we do this here and it's very dangerous. I want to read you something here. Again, I'm going to calculate up real fast. We've got a salary, an annual salary. This is without any overtime. So when those storms roll in, there's always overtime for all that stuff. Okay? I'm just talking straight time. $86,239.32. We're going to divide that by 2,080 working hours in a year. $41.46. Remember that, $41.46 per hour. So here we go. Let's just get on up in here. Okay. 41.46. Everybody's in here with me. Well. Okay. Well, you know what, Patrick Stats, since you're a retired first responder here, I'm not talking about first responders, but I am going to right now. Because this is a problem that I have, and this is where you act like I'm trying to come after first responders. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not against giving first responders their money. These aren't well, I'm sorry, the state did pass that now, that they are first responders. But I want to give you something here, people. I want to tell you something. $41.46 an hour. Big money. Especially in comparison to everybody else. I want you to hear this here. Firefighter, $17 an hour. Firefighter, $19.21 an hour. Firefighter, $20 and a penny. Firefighter, $20 and a penny. Firefighter, $17.71. Lieutenant, $22.21. Captain, $23.25. Firefighter, $19.21. Captain, $23.25. Firefighter, $17. Assistant Chief, $34.33. Now I want you to remember, $41.46. $7 less. Over $7 difference. You know, if you want to talk about first responders, let's get down to it. What was I don't know. I don't know the name of the apartments. Natchez Trace. There was a fire just north of the Brown Shoe Building. The apartments right there, right by the soccer complex. Bad fire. Bad fire. And this is one of the things when you talk to firemen, and my brother-in-law is a fireman, and I talked to him. I've even been through training because we had to have it. Shipboard training. It's called damage control firefighting. And that's exactly what it was, is we just controlled damage. Just to be able to dog down a hatch to keep it consolidated. But when you start looking at these here, if you ever get in a room with the fireman, you know, you stick to the wall. Because you always want to kind of have a lead point. Now you also got, you got a hose if you're coming in there on a hose team. And if you backing off with your hose, if you ever feel there's couplers in between hoses, and those couplers are actually tapered a certain way so you can tell which way you're going, whether you're moving forward towards the head of the hose or away from the hose back towards where you're coming from. You know, there's ways to look at these things here, but get into a room that is, it don't make a damn bright middle of the day, that is just covered in thick black smoke. Well, guess what? You can't see a thing. You're in heavy equipment. You're relying on respirators to take care of you. These guys go through a lot more than what most people realize. And if you want to talk about somebody making $41.46 an hour against somebody over here that's making $17 an hour, yeah, I got a problem with that there. You know, that's just how I see it. These guys go back in here and they go through a lot. And you'll tell you what, in the burning building, who you think's running in to save you? That firefighter is. So you know what? There's something that kind of just doesn't sit well with me when we get in here and look at it. You know, I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to hit patrolman. 2814, 2814, 2814, 2594, 2490, 2594, 2814, 2594, 2814, 2594, 2814. Not a single patrolman up here that's making more than 2814 an hour. 2814. I mean, these guys get, I mean, come on, they get shot at. You know, it burns me up for people to sit up in here and act like they're doing something so great and they're in such, they go through so much problems. We got other people that does the same thing. Heck, they're put in dangerous situations as well. Could take their lives. They're away from their family. They go through the same things. Guess what? When there's a wreck, they're the ones out there. When there's a storm, they're out there. They go through the same thing, but they don't get paid the same. They just don't. You know, the numbers don't lie. And this is coming directly from the city. The numbers don't lie. So if we're going to sit here and act like, you know, a certain group, because guess what? That certain group happens to bring in revenue because they sell a product that, I mean, let's see here. Basic necessities in life. Food, shelter, and water. I don't remember electricity being on that list when I was in school. And they may have changed it lately. I mean, the world survived for the longest time without electricity. Long time with no electricity. But yeah, is it a convenience factor for us? Yes, it is. No doubt in my mind about it. Yes, this is the world we live in, and we need those services. We need all the services. But we can't sit here and act like one group is better than another group, and this bickering back and forth like little school kids about, oh, well, so-and-so is getting paid more than I'm getting paid. Or, you know what? Again, if there is so much money sitting somewhere else, why on earth are you here? That's what I don't get. I just don't get it. You know, and until somebody can explain that to me, that's just it. I don't get it. You know, but anyway, it looks like that's it to my comments. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and try to justify somebody getting a pay raise. It ain't going to happen. I don't care who it is. Right now, this city has been in a major spending problem. It has been there. It continues to happen. Nobody has put a stop to it. And now we're finally starting to see some light of day where there is going to take and be some change. You know, and what's happened? It's going away. All right, hold on a second here because I've got some more. I had some comments that I had to prove, so I'm going to pop up in here again and get back in here and see what kind of comments we got. And boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you're right. Oh crap, I got a bunch of them. Okay. Well. Okay, there's some conversation here about the state roads. And we have to watch what we remember with state roads and with county roads and with city roads and where the whatchamacallit goes. All right. Well. Lexington should sell an electric company to a corporation that knows how to run a company instead of leaving it to the mayor and alderman that cannot manage the city. LES is a different beast, and this is what most people don't realize. The rates for LES really aren't set in house. That's set by TVA. And again, this is one of those things there where you got to go to meetings, you got to attend things to see what happens. TVA audits LES constantly. They have oversight here. They can come in here. I mean, at the end of the day, TVA's got. I mean, they can squash the city board if they need to. The problem here is I'm going to defer to conversations I've had in the past. Good management is caring about the customers. And that's what's happened here, is good management has been taking care of the customers. And when they saw a good opportunity to give a raise, they got a raise. But it doesn't mean you get a raise every single damn year. Just because people want more money doesn't mean you got to give it to them. I mean, heck, I would love for the city to give me $2 million. Well, guess what? I'm a ratepayer. I pay taxes in the city. Why can't I get my money? Why do we have to give it to some but not to others? All right. Let me see here. So, that you're right about that, Kim. I mean, the sheriff's department gets paid a lot less than what happens inside a town. I mean, and go back in. You know what? Let's get back in with our firefighters. Our county. We have very few paid firefighters in our county. Most of our county is made up of volunteers. And those guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, I had the pleasure of knowing and talking to Lynn on many occasions. And I thought the world of him. He was a really, really, really good man. And he built a phenomenal, just a phenomenal fire department in this county. And from everything I'm hearing, Cody has picked up the torch and he's carrying it strong. And I look at this here, again, I don't sit here and deal with certain issues locally. I try to branch out and find out what's going on elsewhere. And one of the things that I'm very proud to say about being from Henderson County, when people come up and start talking to me and ask me where I'm from, when I'm dealing with firefighters, they all know our fire department. I mean, you guys y'all set the bar so high for everybody else. Our firefighters in this county are phenomenal. Volunteers. And you know, I'm tell you what, I've caught grief over this numerous times, but I'll say it again. Instead of giving Christmas bonus to employees, because guess what? Government employees just don't get Christmas bonuses. I mean, heck, go to work for the federal government, see what happens, see what kind of Christmas bonus you get. You don't get any. You know, I'm tell you what, instead of giving Christmas bonus to the employees, give the Christmas bonuses to the firefighters. Give these guys something. Just a little something. Just to show, hey, we appreciate you. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, and you think about it, we all know what this is about. And I'm going to say this here, same thing, city. Even our county firefighters. There's mutual aid. There's a county fire, actually 2 county fire stations inside of the city of Lexington. When you guys need help, and you needed help the other day out there at that phone factory, Henderson County stepped right on up board there, right there. You know, heck, y'all could give out some bonuses over that way too to the county firefighters. Those guys deserve something. I mean, these people give of their time freely. They don't complain. They're not up here saying, well, if you don't give us more money, we're going to go volunteer firefight somewhere else. No, they truly care. They're not the ones who talk about things. They're the ones who are doing it. They don't talk a game. They don't talk about people don't appreciate them. Hell, we love them. And all this mess about people don't appreciate LES or don't appreciate the firemen in the city or don't appreciate the police and all, that's a bunch of crock. Go in and read posts all the time. Do we beat them up all the time? Absolutely not. Heck, last week I was talking to a city employee. Appreciate this person coming to talk to me. And you know what? We weren't up here talking about anything bad. They're like, I really appreciate the fact of what you do because we know you stand up for us. And I do. I stand up for the good people who are trying to do the right thing. The ones who are up here just worrying about serving themselves, then yeah, I got a problem with that there. You know, we are all, there's people in this county, in this city, that struggle to make ends meet. And when people sit up there and they want more and more and more, and they don't care if it costs somebody increased rates or increased taxes, yeah, I got a problem with that. That's just how I feel. And, people may not like that, but it is what it is. I am up here, I care about what happens to the majority of people. But I really care about the people who, who may not be part of the system where they're getting any benefits from it, who may not be a friend or family or that's just the nitty gritty of it. I care about what is happening with the people. I care about making sure that everyone at least has something. Not have to worry about, man, can I make this payment this month? Is my electricity going to get it cut off? Because guess what? I got to pay this high electric rate to make sure that somebody gets their $95,000 or $100,000 a year. No, that is not right. And this isn't about taxing rich or tax. This is about taxing the poor. Jeez. Come on, people. I mean, let's just be realistic about this stuff here. We have to take care of others. There's people who can't take care of themselves. So we need to make sure that we're doing what we can to step up and help them. And there's nothing wrong with that there. So anyway, I do have a message coming in here. Alrighty. Okay, I got some messages coming across here. Alrighty. Give me just 1 second here. I'm reading on this here about the salary survey. Yep, this is it. All right, thank you, Candy, for sending this to me, for finding those notes on this here. Okay, because this has been discussed, and people were talking about the dates, and I was right, y'all were wrong. Okay, I'm just joking. March 30th, 2025. Is when this took place. This was just last year. I knew it was last year. Okay, what happened was there was a motion made by Alderman Lofton to do a 2% supplement to city employees who didn't get a pay adjustment in the middle of the year. Sandra Wood seconded the motion. City Recorder said that the money was there to give the raise. Okay. Alderman Wildridge made a motion to amend Alderman Lofton's motion. And Alderman Rhodes seconded Wildridge's motion. The board voted to approve Wildridge's motion 4-2. Wildridge's motion was to do away with the salary survey and not do the supplement. He said they would deal with raises at next budget year. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Well. Okay, and how that vote came about. Anyway, this vote got it where the motion got approved 4-2. And once that motion got approved, that means that what Alderman Lofton wanted was no longer on the table. It was now the amended version is what got approved, and that's what Alderman Wildridge wanted, was to do away with the salary survey and to not do the supplemental pay increase. Well, and then when the vote came in on that there, on the amended motion, Alderman Rhodes, Alderman White, Alderman Wildridge, and Alderman Ellis voted yes to do away with the salary survey, and this happened on March 30th, 2025. So you alderman who's been looking into this here, March 30th, 2025 is when that was actually voted out last year. That's what I thought. Thank you, Candy, for showing that there. All right, let me get back in here. And I know, man, I'm just way too long on this thing here. Well. Make sure to distinguish between the people that get paid 24 hours a day and the ones that get paid 8 hours a day. Well, I mean, if somebody gets paid, if somebody has to work overtime, are they not getting paid the 24 hours a day? And a firefighter's on schedule. So, I mean, they're set up in it 24 hours a day. Boom, boom. TVA audits LES monthly. Then they audit the system twice per year. And then LES also has a separate independent audit, and that's one of the meetings that I attended to. I agree with that there. Performance-based pay incentives has to meet company goals or no bonuses. How am I spending anything here? The comment here is coming from an alderman. I'm not spending anything. I'm replying a comment that I've had with aldermen about the fact that LES employees are stating, and this has been the same thing here because I've heard the same thing too out of Lexington utility employees. They're all saying the same thing. LES is complaining because Lexington utility employees want to get paid like LES. That's no spin. This is something that's been going on for years. I mean, this is a conversation that obviously you weren't privy to, but I'm bringing this here out in the conversation so people know what goes on, so there's some transparency to it. Amen, Jack. Kudos to all the county employees and most of the city employees who do what they do without expecting a pay raise every year. That's it. We have some damn good people. And the problem is our good employees get a bad rap because of some of the bad ones who are focused about themselves. And that's wrong. It is not fair to the good employees. And it's not because of the stereotyping. It's because they get left in the dust behind everybody else. It's just what happens. And it's just not right. Amen, Beth. I know several seniors who just wish they could have enough money to make it for a month. That's it. That's the point. That's the whole thing here, is there are people right now in this city and county suffering. And when you're making $80,000, $90,000 a year, if you can't afford to go a year or two without a raise, especially after you've gotten some substantial raises, then you know what? Then yeah, I can't say it any other way. It is nothing more than greed. All you care about is money. If you cared about the people, you would understand what they're going through. But you don't. You're using the job to get yourself paid, and that's it. And you know what? And again, I'll say the same thing. Don't let the door hit you on the backside on the way out, because we don't need to be cleaning up anymore. There has been way above and beyond reasonable pay raises in the last 6 years. Way above and beyond. More than any other industry is probably paying around here. It's just not happening. And yet, here we are, we're still seeing outreached hands. I want more, 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 more. That is greed. You can't say it any other way. It's what it is. And if it upsets people, I'm sorry. But I'm calling it out like it is. And there are a lot of people that I have talked to who agree with me. And yes, there are people who still want to take and get rich off the taxpayers' back and the ratepayers' back. I get it. You know what? Y'all keep spinning your thing. I'll keep spinning my thing. But this is where we are, and I'm ready to carry my butt to bed. It is 8:45. I'm old. I've been up here for an hour and 45 minutes, and I've had enough with it. I am going to take and close it up for the night. You know, you're right, Beth. You've been screaming for the last several years and nobody's listening. I'm listening, and I'm up here trying to advocate for you as hard as I can. And I'll keep doing that while I'm here, and even after I'm gone. Anyway, I'm going to call this here a night. I am tired. I got work tomorrow, and I still got a ton of messages I got to reply to people and some other stuff. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you for tuning in. We've kept a pretty strong showing tonight. I certainly appreciate it. I know we get long-winded in here, and I do apologize for that. You know, but the devil is in the details. You really need to know everything that's going on, and it's for your benefit. I'm going to tell you right now what's going to worry me is come May 26th, all of a sudden we start seeing property tax and rate increases. My suggestion to you is May 26th at 5:30, carry your butt to the utilities board, because it may take your presence there to stop you from getting a tax increase or a rate increase. You show up, be the voice. And if you're not happy with raises, you're not happy with these take-home vehicles, like you've already been telling them when they got elected in the first place, say it again, scream it loud, let them know. Guess what? You can talk to them about anything you want to talk to them in public comments now. Thank you, state legislature. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.